We welcome all dear participants. We are starting our webinar and quiz on biodiversity. Now, I request Sri Srinivasulu, Member Secretary, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, for his welcome note. Sir, it's over to you.
Friends, good morning. Life in sum total of life in its diverse forms living on Earth is biodiversity. Life has diversified into different life forms, not by default but by design. The very existence of life on Earth depends on its diversity. Not many can appreciate, but the fact of the matter is, unless otherwise, life is existing on this planet in different life forms. It is not going to be existing for very long time. The very existence of life on Earth is possible only when it is in diverse forms. It is because different life forms that we see are highly interdependent, interacting with each other in different relations. Either they complement each other, supplement each other, and depend on each other for their very survival. Biodiversity, what we say, provides n number of ecosystem services to human beings and every other creature on this earth. You can just think the air we breathe, the water we drink, the crop we produce, the fire we domesticate for our different life activities. These are all possible only when the Panchabhutas, which we say, are in pure form and they are non-polluted. If these are polluted, they threaten the very survival of human beings on this. Also, it is very important to understand human being who has evolved just few seconds ago in the time scale of universe or time scale of earth, if he thinks he is superior life forms on this earth, he has all the more and moral obligation to respect all his siblings, not for the case of siblings but for his very existence. If you think that human being can live in isolation on this earth, you are very wrong, because human being can never ever be able to live on this earth in his whole form. For his survival, he has to appreciate, respect, and nurture culture or diversity. This year, when we have this motto of every solution is there in nature, it's a very powerful statement where if you just think, for everything that we do, for everything that we need, for every our nutritional needs, medical needs, recreational needs, cultural needs, any needs that we think of human needs, for everything we'll have to go back to nature for its solutions. And if we don't protect this nature, we will be depriving ourselves with solutions, and that's we're going to face very difficult problem. So friends, let's all pledge on this day to respect and protect nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivasulu sir, for your welcome note. Now I request Dr. S.G. Gopalakrishna, Director, Nagarjuna Group of Institutions, for introductory note. Hello, sir. Please continue, sir.
Good afternoon, dear participants. World Environment Day is being celebrated on 5th of June every year. And this year's theme is biodiversity, which is a very unique and befitting theme, I understand. This webinar is being organized across the country. We have received approximately 3,000 participants to this webinar from north to south and east to west in the country. This is a very good initiative from our college. And regarding the World Environmental Day, now we have to take care of the environment. We have to take care of the earth that we live in. If we don't do that, our future generation will suffer. Hence, on this occasion, all of us should take oath that we will contribute and maintain this earth in the way that we have received when we were born and hand it over to our youngsters. This oath every individual and every citizen of this world should take. And we at Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology have associated with this webinar, which is a unique webinar being organized and sponsored by the Central Pollution Control Board, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, and the Prakriti Institute. We are very happy to be associated with these reputed organizations. And on behalf of the Nagarjuna Group of Institutions, I wish this webinar all the best. Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology is an autonomous college and has been accredited by A grade by NAAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, and also 4 of the UG courses are accredited by the National Board of Accreditation. We also have the ISO certifications for our institution, and our campus is a very unique 100-acre green campus. That is the very beauty of the campus. On this occasion, I am also happy and thank the 3 organizations specially for coordinating and cooperating and helping in organizing this webinar. I also congratulate Dr. Venkatesh Babu, the HOD of Civil Engineering at the Nagarjuna College of Engineering and Technology, and Professor Sanat Kumar, who has taken a lot of initiatives in organizing this event. And I thank both of them and their entire team for involving in organizing this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for briefing about the webinar. Now I request D.R. Kumarswamy to continue his presentation with a small video clip.
Biodiversity. It represents the wealth of all biological resources available to us. Each species, no matter how big or small, has an important role to play in ecosystem. Various plants and animal species depend on each other for what each offers, and these diverse species ensures natural sustainability for all life forms. For instance, human beings are dependent on various plants and animals for their food, shelter, and clothes, and likewise many other species are dependent on each other for such purposes. Richness of biodiversity makes our planet fit for the survival of each of the species living here.
The main cause of the loss of biodiversity can be attributed to the influence of human beings on the world's ecosystem. In fact, human beings have deeply altered the environment and have modified the territory, exploiting the species directly.
Biodiversity depletion is a natural phenomenon, but the present levels of biodiversity depletion are many times higher than the natural rate. Recently, the levels of loss in biodiversity have started causing global concern.
A good day. Welcome to the short talk on World Environment Day 2020. Theme of the World Environment Day is biodiversity. See the invitations to all the participants for the World Environment Day. The World Environment Day 2020 theme will be on biodiversity. United Nations Environment Program announces that Colombia will be the hosting World Environment Day 2020 in partnership with Germany. The main focus of World Environment Day 2020 would be on biodiversity. This is biodiversity start with the sun actually, because sun is a god as per the Indian philosophy, and without sun there is no biodiversity. So the age of the sun is about 7 billion million, and then the age of the earth is about 4,500 million. Sun is actually the diameter of the sun is 1.4 million kilometers, and the core temperature is about 15 million degrees centigrade. And the corona temperature is 2 million degrees centigrade. So this temperature is actually required for the earth to maintain the biodiversity. This is the earth cross section. You can see it is diameter is 13,000 kilometers. Water, 2/3 is the water, 1/3 is the land, and this water is actually maintained. Earth. Also water is biodiversity. This is the temperature of the environment. As you go higher and higher in the stratosphere, mesosphere, the temperature decreases, increases, and finally in thermosphere, the temperature rises. And the ozone is the layer which is in the stratosphere, and it is spread about 25 kilometer thickness. Since the pressure is 0, it is 25 kilometers. If the pressure is 1 bar, and the thickness is 2.2 millimeters, nothing but 220 bar. With the 1% of the destruction of the ozone by chlorofluorocarbon, there may be an increase in it. 100% skin cancer, cataract to the living organ. That's why ozone layer, which is manufactured by the nature, is about 600 million years. Water is the main cause for the biodiversity. So the total water distribution around the world is 100%. 97.5% is the salt water, where you cannot possible to use it as a drinking water. So it is used for the navigation. The fresh water is only 2.5%, and out of 2.5% fresh water, the lakes and river water is only 0.3%. That's why. So we have to conserve and utilize the water efficiently, because it is only 0.3% out of 2. Groundwater is also very important. Next to the surface water, highest water storage is in the groundwater. So groundwater charges according to the impervious or the perviousness of the ground level. The forest is actually 100% pervious. So highest recharges take place in green area or forest area. In urban areas like Bangalore and other major cities, the imperviousness is only 15%. So that's why the water table is very, very low, as the Publics are using the bore wells for tapping water. The evolution, when you consider the evolution of the life on the earth, so it says the cycle evolution up to the, if you consider earth has a age of only 24 hours, then up to full moon, the evolution take place under it. There is no evolution on the earth because still the ozone layer is not formed organism on the earth. So everything is in millions of years. So even the dinosaurs and all, the age of reptiles, 5 million years, 225 million years. When compared to this scale, the modern human Homo sapiens appears about 2 seconds before midnight. So the human beings are the last entry to this earth. And in the name of development, he has actually conserved 80% of the biodiversity for his own benefit. Yeah, this is all done because of the population explosion. So India is the second highest population in the world. The first is China, and America is 3 times bigger than India. But the population is only 30.3 crores, whereas India is 1/3 of USA land area. It is 130 crores. So since the population is increased, we call it as an explosion. This is actually exerting high pressure on biodiversity. So to give food grains or shelter, all these things, the Indians are actually depends upon. So during the agricultural green revolution or during industrialization or construction of the houses, he is actually encroaching the forest or destroying the forest and building his own houses or the agricultural. Yeah, biodiversity is a very important factor on the earth, because without biodiversity there is no human. Biodiversity is nothing but the variability of life on earth. Biodiversity is typically a measure of variation at genetic, species, ecosystem level. Terrestrial biodiversity is usually greater near the equator, which is a result of warm climate. That means the equatorial area, either side of the equator, temperature is high, it is warm. So because of that, there is a lot of greeneries. That is nothing but primary productivity. The biodiversity is not distributed evenly because as you go towards the North Pole or South Pole, since the radiation is very less, biodiversity. The tropical forest ecosystem covered less than 10% of the Earth's surface, but it contains 90% of the world's species. So that's why the biodiversity is very, very important. And normally what we are actually seeing that destruction of biodiversity, destruction of the forest of the tropical country is really an impact. The next is the marine biodiversity. It is usually highest along the coastal in the western Pacific, where the sea surface temperature is high. So what it indicates, if the temperature is higher, then only there is a chance of biodiversity. Otherwise, and the mid of the latitudinal band in all oceans, there are latitudinal gradients in species diversity. Biodiversity generally tends to cluster in hotspots. There are 18 hotspots in the world, out of that 2 hotspots are in India. This is the biodiversity, the various types of flowering plants, birds, animals. So these are all there actually in the Earth biodiversity. This is the food chain or the food web. So more wider the bottom, then is a sustainable development called sustainable food chain. So primary producers are producing the food because of the photosynthesis, and these the next level are the herbivorous, called the primary consumer. The next level is called the carnivorous, that is secondary consumer or omnivorous. The next is the top carnivorous, is actually a terrestrial consumers. So consumers, less consumers, but more primary producers, a stable food chain. So this is also an estuary, is very rich in biodiversity. And during the rainy season, most of the organic matter and the fertile land is actually washed away to the rivers, and it is deposited in the estuaries. So some of the good fishes which actually lays their egg in the sweet water. So they move from ocean to sweet water, lay eggs and return back to the ocean. So nowadays there are so many dams were built across the rivers that indicates that there is a less discharge of water, and all the organic matter is going to be settled in the dams, and there is a less discharge or less deposition of organic matter, estuaries. Because of this, there is every chances of the precious fish may migrate to the other area. The next is the mangroves. Mangroves is actually all over the India or all over the world. The Indian coastal line is about 7,000 kilometers, and these mangroves are actually protecting the coastal areas, and lot of bio activities are take place in mangroves. Biggest mangroves are actually in the India, Bangladesh and Burma border. All the three countries have got a huge biodiversity of the mangroves. Yeah, biodiversity levels are three categories: genetic biodiversity, species biodiversity, and ecosystem biodiversity. A few important facts about the India. So, there are two hotspots in India. One is the Western Ghats, another one is the Eastern Himalayas. So out of 18 biodiversity, 2 biodiversities are in India. And the Ministry of Environment and Forest made a survey in 1999. The figures are 4,219 plant species are representing 12.5%, and 18,251 animal species representing 6.6% of the world species. The sacred groves of India are some of the areas in the country where the richness of biodiversity has been well preserved. The Thar Desert, the Himalayas are two regions rich in biodiversity. In India, there are 89 national parks, 104 wildlife sanctuaries in the country. The Chilka Lake in Varisa is also one of an important wetland area. India's 10 biogeographic zones is shown in the PPT. That is from Trans-Himalaya, the Himalaya, Desert, Semi-Arid, Western Ghats, Deccan Peninsula, Gangetic Plain, Coastal Area, Northeastern parts, and also the islands. Islands are very important because of the shallow water. There is a high biodiversity. Shallow water, that is here islands, especially Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar. Yeah, biodiversity is cycle. It is life. You can see the PPT biodiversity. The 61% is the arthropods. Then molluscs are 6.5%. The turtle and tortoise is 0.02%. And fungus is 6%. Birds and crocodiles are 0.6%. Mammals are 0.3%. The human beings are actually in mammals. So mammals means all the animals including human beings, it is only 0.3%. Whereas the arthropoda is 61%. And even the green plants, the green cover is 15%. So when compared to the green plants and arthropoda, human beings are very, very small compared to that. The lizard, snakes, protestas, and true bacteria, and other amphibians 0.3%, and fishes that is 1.4%, and echinoderms 0.4%. This is the arthropoda. Arthropodas are, I already told you, 61%. The species varies from 5 to 10 million. So this is the rich biodiversity on the earth. Next is the plant, 15% species are 3,20,000 numbers. Green plants provide a substantial proportion of the world molecular oxygen. So if you cut the greenery, we are going to lose the molecular oxygen. That's why the green cover is very, very important. So which is the most important is the earth ecosystem is the plants. The 260 to 290,000 plants species produces the seeds. The plants are produced as the grains, which we are using paddy, jowar, rice, wheat, millets, etc. are the grains, and fruits, vegetables, and also, which are also forms of basic human foods. So our vegetables is also greeneries. Our food grains is also come from greeneries, and all the medicinal plants are actually greeneries, and the paper industries, medicine industries, all these industries are from the plants, and also our houses is also requires the plants. The study of the plants is botany, which is a branch of biology. Yeah, mollusca 6.5%. So the extinct species are more actually, but the current species is 85,000 numbers. The number of fossil species is estimated is around 1.5 lakh species. Actually fossils, no more. The important food is actually for human is the mushrooms. The important food source for human, however, some species are toxic. So molluscs are also some parts human beings consume as a food, but some of the species are very toxic, and also being is a source of important luxury goods, notable pearls, mother of pearl, and some purple dyes, also ceasing. All the pearls are actually available from the molluscs. The fungus or fungi, it is 6%. The species, about 38 lakh number species, about 300 species are pathogenic to humans. So you cannot. The mushrooms are them where you can use them as a food. The yeast are there, molds are there. The fungus do not photosynthesize because they actually depends on the head parts of the plants or the animals. The fungus are the principal decomposers. So if there is no fungus, then the decomposition process is actually comes down, because these decomposers is actually liberating all the nutrients to the plant. The direct source of human food in terms of form of mushroom and turtles as a leavening agent of bread, and the fermentation of various food products such as wine, beer, and soya sauce. For all these things they use the fungi or the fungi. And from 1940s, the fungi have been used for the production of antibiotics, and various enzymes are produced by the fungi are used industrially and in detergents. Fungi are also used for biological pesticides. Okay, these are the fungi where the fungi are used. Already I explained: pulp, paper, textile mills, in food industries, beverages, biofuel, the household items, animal feed, and environmental management, and also biocatalysts. These are all the functions of the fungi. So without fungi, you will not actually get all these things. Protista are the 4%. These are actually single-celled animal called unicellular animal, and few are multicellular. Are the unicellular colony species which form new tissues is slime mold, amoeba, euglena, dinoflagellates, paramecium, diatoms, and macroalgae. These are the protistas, 4%. The diatoms are very important because they generate 20 to 50% of the oxygen produced on the planet each year. So diatoms are also important because diatoms are used in water filtration and also used as a mild abrasive and as a dynamite stabilizer. Diatoms are also often referred as due to their optical properties, jewels of sea or living opals. So oxygen recycle is more than 50% by these protesters. Worms and rotifiers. 3.3% is the worms and rotifiers. The species are around 2,200 species identified. Identified means it is the identification process is still on. Commonly it is called as the wheel animals and common in freshwater environment throughout the world with few saltwater species. If you identify the rotifier, it indicates that there is a less pollution in there. So that's why it is called as a freshwater environment species. The major food source of aquatic animals is also these worms and rotifiers. So if it is destroyed by the human activity or the industrialization and discharging the sewage or effluent into the water, these worms and rotifiers are actually is going to be destroyed. If that is destroyed, the next animal, the aquatic animals species are going to be reduced because it is in the food chain. Let's see the finned fish or ray finned fish. It is 1.4%, and species around 30,000 species are identified, and there are almost 28,000 known extinct species are already extinct because of the industrialization or because of nature. Okay. The fish species diversity is roughly divided equally between the marine as well as freshwater systems. And some of the industries are depends upon the fish life, as that's the fish that produce the food, and some of the vitamins are cod liver oil. They are actually manufactured from them. So about 4.3 billion people are reliant on fish for protein. So about 4.3%, a billion person directly or indirectly depends on that as their food source. Thinidoderms. These are actually 0.6%. These species are 1,000 species of aquatic animals found both in freshwater and marine environment. They are predominantly marine. Cnidarians are limited to shallow water because in the shallow water the light enters up to the bottom of the ocean or at the bottom of the fresh water. So when it is exposed to the sunlight, because of that the activities are very high. So the nutrients are actually these because they are depends on the algae as their nutrients. If there is no algae, then the cnidarians are going to be destroyed. The coral reefs form some of the world's most productive ecosystem. So normally Indians are all over the world. They like the corals. The corals is an ornament in the Indian system, and all over the world it is used as an ornament. And the reefs are actually protect the mangroves or the sea grass from strong currents and the waves that would damage them. The next is the birds and the crocodiles, 0.6%. The crocodiles first appeared 9.5 lakh years ago and are the closest living relatives of the birds. The birds first appeared about 16 lakh years ago in China, and about 130 species of birds have become extinct due to human activity since the 17th century. And these birds actually depends upon the food insects. So these insects are the food for the birds. So it is actually eco-friendly to the agriculture because most of the pests are actually consumed by the birds. Lizard and snakes. These constitute the 0.4%. The lizard species are 1,000 species. Snake species are 3,600 numbers. And the genes of the venom toxin evolved from the common ancestors of lizard and snake. Some 200 million years ago. 11.3 lakh years old fossils up to 4-legged snake was found in Brazil. So they are much older than the human being. And these snake venoms are used to treat many diseases like cancer, paralysis, etc. And these snakes are actually depends on food on the rats, and these rats actually consume the agricultural products. That's why to balance these snakes and lizards are very important systems in the ecosystem. Next is the echinoderms, the 0.4%. The species identified 7,000 so far, which includes the starfish, sea urchins, sand dollars, and sea cucumbers, as well as sea lilies. Echinoderms are also the largest phylum that has no fresh or terrestrial representatives. They are restricted to the marine only. The echinoderms are important both ecological and geological. Major contributors of the to the many limestone formation is this echinoderm. The amphibia. Amphibia is the animals which lives under water and also on the. It is about 0.3%. The species. The number of known amphibian species are approximately 8,000, of which nearly 90% are frogs. The study of amphibian is called actually bacteriology, and the major groups of the amphibians developed around 37 lakh years ago. 90% are frogs, only 10% are the other animals, what you have repeat. These are the mammals. Mammals are only 0.3%. Already explained you. Arthropods are actually 61% and plant species are 15%. Now mammals are only 0.3%. These mammals contains all these animals what is there in the PPT, and human beings are actually one of them. In all these systems, compared to this mammal and a part of it actually. About 6,400 is the extinct species described, which is extinct because of the human activities. And approximately 30 lakh years ago, mammals are derived from the birds and reptiles. Domestication of many types of animals by the human beings played a major role. So, the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro civilization, where actually human settlements are there actually human beings started the agriculture. So during that time, he domesticated some of the animals for his own use. In the Neolithic Revolution, the major role in the Neolithic Revolution and resulted in farming, replacing hunting and gathering as a primary source of food for the humans. Yeah, true bacteria, 0.3% is the true bacteria, but still the bacteria are the major role in the environment. About 400 lakh bacteria sell single gram of soil, and about 10 lakh bacteria cells are there in milliliter of fresh water. That's why even the fresh water is not actually directly, you cannot drink the fresh water also because bacterial count is about 10 lakh in 1 milliliter. That's right. So before drinking water, it has to be disinfected. And there are approximately 5 into 10 to the power of 30 bacteria in the earth. So this population when compared to human beings is a teeny part, is one of the bacteria when compared to the bacterial counts. So this is forming a biomass which exceeds that of all plants and animals, including human beings. Bacteria are the decomposers of the organic matter and plays a vital role in nutrient cycle. So all the nutrients are released back to the environment only by the bacteria activity. 95% of the organic matter is released back into. The study of bacteria is a bacteriology, a branch of microbiology. Nearly all the animal life is dependent on the bacteria for survival, as only bacteria and some archaea process the genes and enzymes necessary to synthesis of vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 is a very important vitamin for the living organism, which is actually produced by the bacteria, and also known as the complement. and provides it to the food chain. Provide with the food chain. Industry bacteria are important in sewage treatment. Also, the bacteria are used in the activated sludge process. Bacteria are used, and the breakdown of the oil spillages in the ocean or in the river or in the harbor is actually done by the bacteria. The conversion of the cheese or yogurt or fermentation is also done by the bacteria. And the recovery of gold, palladium, copper, and other metal in the mining sector, as well as in biotechnology and in the manufacturing of the antibiotics and other chemicals, these two bacteria have a major role actually. That's why every bacteria in the ecosystem is very important. So these are the things I already explained. The water is treated using the microorganism, the soya sauce, the cheese, the yogurt, the beer, the wine, and the bread. All these actually made by the help of the bacteria, and antibiotics are also the biotechnology, which is actually they also use the bacteria to extract the antibiotics. The next is the turtles and tortoise. Turtles are actually water dwelling, and the tortoise are actually in the land living or the terrestrial species. They are very less, 0.02% only, but their species is also in dangerous and endangered because of the fishing over exploiting the marine products. You might have seen in the TVs because one of the tortoise actually took birth in the ocean, that is in the land, in the beaches, and it returns back after 40 years. So it is very wonder how it actually returns after 40 years in the world and lays eggs in the same place. This is the animal biodiversity. Okay, this is the marine biodiversity you are already explained. The plant biodiversity, bird biodiversity.
Here are the major reasons that cause biodiversity loss. Overexploitation.
The exploitation of natural resources to the point of diminishing returns has significantly given rise to biodiversity loss. Activities such as overhunting, overfishing, overmining, and excessive logging have greatly reduced biodiversity levels.
Habitat loss. When a habitat is degraded or destroyed as a result of the natural or human activities such as earthquakes, land use, deforestation, or agriculture, biodiversity is lost as the ecological system supporting biological survival is taken away. Even if only a small portion of an ecosystem is destroyed, the entire system's balance becomes vulnerable. Human overpopulation.
Overpopulation has witnessed continued encroachment into frontier forest, heightened pollution, and destruction of natural ecosystems that has considerably contributed to the mass extinction of species. The number of threatened species persists to multiply worldwide, whereas some have completely gone extinct.
Climate change.
When climate change occurs, temperatures can increase dramatically. When temperature rises, many different changes can occur on Earth. It can result in more floods, droughts, or intense rain, as well as more frequent and severe heat waves.
Pollution.
The various forms of pollution, including water pollution, soil pollution, air pollution, land pollution, and agricultural pollution, simply destroy animal and plant habitats due to the toxic substances and chemicals released into the biological system, contributing to their eventual death.
Okay, various acts are there to protect the environment. Water Act 1974, the Water Rules 75, the CES rules 1977, and the Water Cess rules. They're all actually deleted now. Actually, they are not in force. The Air Act is actually 1981, and Air Rules. Environmental Protection Act is 1986. So the Biodiversity Act is the latest, is 2002, which is actually protect the biodiversity. Under the Environmental Protection Act, there are so many notifications: the hazardous waste management rules, the biomedical rules, the solid waste management rules, the recycling of plastic rules, the manufacturing and storage and import of hazardous chemical rules, the battery rules, the Public Liability Insurance Act, the e-waste management and handling rules, and construction and demolition waste rules. These are all actually enacted under the environmental protection rules to protect the environment, and it is implemented by the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board or the State Pollution Control Board in the country, and it is monitored by the Central Pollution Control Board. Ultimately, it is monitored by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Yeah, just a gist of the Biological Diversity Act or Biodiversity Act 2002. It says that the act may be called as Biological Diversity Act 2002. And Act provides the conservation of biodiversity, sustainable use of its components, and fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising out of the use of biological resource, knowledge, and for matters connected with therewith incidental thereto. So biodiversity means what it is actually explained: the variability among the living organisms from all sources and the ecological complexes of which they are part, and include diversity within species or between species or ecosystems. Biological resource is also explained, which also includes plant, animal, microorganism are part thereto, and their genetic materials and their byproduct, excluding the value of added product, and with actual or potential use or value, but does not include the human genetic materials. Except human genetic materials, it is actually covered by the Biodiversity Act 2002. Yeah, these are the salient features. There are 10 salient features, which says prohibition of transfer of Indian genetic material outside the country, prohibition of anyone to claim an intellectual property, regulation of the collection and use of biodiversity of Indian national measures to share the benefit from the use of biodiversity. These are all the actually salient features of the Act. Yeah, this is the just May 22nd we celebrated the International Biodiversity Day 2020. The theme is very important: is our solutions are in nature. This is very important. For all solutions, most of the solutions are in nature, because most of the herbs or the shrubs or the Ayurveda, they use the natural products to treat some of the diseases by our ancestors also. Not from today, it is from the good old olden ancestors. They are treating the diseases using the herbs that are available on the earth. Okay, our solutions are in nature. Because in Ramayana also, you can see the Lakshmana was actually treated using the Sanjeevani plant. So Sanjeevani is actually we don't know whether Sanjeevani now it is available or not. And near Sagar, one villager is actually treating all type of diseases using the herbal medicines. And in villages in early days, they use the herbal medicines to treat the snake bites or scorpion bites. Even the Ayush recommends the herbal product to control the COVID-19. So, which is actually recommended by the Ayush Government of India. And most of the food source are from the biodiversity. Since the most of the food are from the biodiversity, so we directly depend on our solutions are on nature. That is exactly the meaning, that without nature, the human being cannot survive in this. Yeah, biodiversity is already explained. One is on the Himalayan range, another one is on the Chilka Lake and Sundarbans, Western Ghats, and the Thar Desert. These are the biodiversity of India. Yeah, biodiversity structure is three-tier structure: National Biodiversity Authority, NBA, State Biodiversity Authority, it is SBB, and Biodiversity Management Committee is also there, BMC, which is actually look after this implementation of the Biodiversity Act. Yeah, conserving of agricultural biodiversity. So agricultural, all products are actually domesticated. All these paddy, rice, the wheat, jawar, millet, all these plants are actually from the forest only. And these forest grains are actually domesticated, and by the agriculture we are producing. And most of the food grains, what you are obtaining in the from the agricultural biodiversity. This is the Seva, this is Beej Bachao Andolan, Himalayan crops. So these are the some of the NGOs which are very active in protecting the environment. Yeah, you come to the water pollution. I already explained you because of the human activity, or we can say because of industrialization. Not well-planned industrialization, because well-planned industrialization is also a very important part. So most of the effluents, especially human sewage, is discharged into the lakes, or discharged into the nalas, or discharged into the rivers. And this is the situation. Sometimes the plastics are also disposed to the lakes or to the valleys, which are ultimately joins to the lake resource or the ecosystem in the ocean or in the dams, which actually really destroys the system in the lakes or in the ocean or in the river. Yeah, sometimes our Indian festivals are also sometimes disturb the ecosystem. Ganesha festival. So Pollution Control Board is actually recommending to go for the non-painted Ganesha festivals because Ganeshas, if you are to be painted, and these paints contains the chemicals like lead, cadmium, nickel, chromium, like that, and which is a problem to the ecosystem. And Pollution Control Board is recommending for the clay Ganesha with a short Ganesha, so half feet high, and you can discharge it to the bucket of water, so that you can protect all the lakes. You check all the lakes during the Ganesha festival. A lot of Ganeshas were actually disposed in the lake. That too POP, plaster Paris, which takes about 1 month to 2 months to dissolve. And these clay Ganeshas are within 24 hours to dissolve. So you can discharge, you can use a bucket of water, dispose the Ganesha, and discharge the water into the plants of your backyard. The industrial revolution and the pollution and by the human beings, because the pioneer in industrialization in India, Sir M. Vishwesvaraya, he says industrialize or perish. So industrialization is a must because of the population explosion. So in the before independence, the population was only 30 crores. Now it is 130 crores. That's why the industrialization happened. In the meantime, we have to control the pollution. We cannot dispose the industrial effluent, and sometimes you are actually exploiting the underground water as a borewell water for the industrialization. If you over-exploit the borewell water, there is every chances of contamination in the rock strata itself. For example, the fluoracid or the arsenic. So in Pavgada and Chikbalapura areas, the fluoracid is a common. This is because of the land strata itself. And this fluoracid is a disease which actually destroys the bones and the teeth. Yeah, arsenic is also because of the over exploitation. So it is there in India and also in Argentina, Chile, and also in USA. Some part of the Chikbalapur is also, Kolar is also there actually. But disease actually we are not identified. But this is the disease called black foot disease. If any person consumes the arsenic contaminated water for 5 to 10 years, then all the cells absorb the arsenic and his food becomes black. So this is called as a black foot disease. This is the cadmium pollution. Cadmium is also used in the pesticide. Cadmium is also used in the electroplating industry. If the industry discharges the untreated cadmium effluent, then the plants are actually pick up this cadmium. That biomagnified in the plant. If such plants are consumed by the human being, or such aquatic life is consumed by the human beings, that is accumulated by human beings, and the disease is called eta disease. The lead poisoning is also because all the heavy metals, chromium, cadmium, nickel, and lead, these are the heavy metals. They are really dangerous to the environment, but these are also an important metal which they are using in the electroplating. Yeah, this is the chromium pollution. Normally, electroplating industry, they use the chromium for plating, and untreated chromium effluent discharge, and this is the disease. Their lungs are going to be destroyed by the chromium. Yeah, mercury pollution is actually first appeared in Japan. There was one industry because this methyl mercury, when it is discharged to the ocean, all the microorganisms convert the inorganic mercury into an organic mercury, and this organic mercury is taken up by algae, and this algae is taken up by invertebrates, and invertebrates are the actually food chain for the fishes, and the fish consumes, and all the mercury is going to be accumulated in the fish bones and fish flesh, and if that is consumed by the fishermen or the public, that is going to be accumulated or biomagnified in the human system. So this is one of the caustic soda factory in Karnataka. They were using actually mercury as a cathode. Now actually Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change take an initiative, and they have given a time to 5 years to change the mercury into a titanium unit. Now no mercury industries are there in the country, because it is replaced by a titanium metal. So in Pina, the underground water is actually, when monitored by the Pollution Control Board, it is found that there is a underground water pollution contamination. This is because of some of the industries which they discharges illegally the untreated electroplating industries into the drainage, and ultimately drainage joins the lake, and during the transfer period, sometimes all these heavy metals are actually going to the underground by the seepage, or it is called as an infiltration, and once it is infiltrated, and that is a permanent damage to the underground water system. In the underground water system, it cannot be treated, because this underground water is actually stored from millions of years. So that's why I request all the industries of India or all over the country not to discharge any electroplating effluent outside the industry without any treatment, because the government has provided financial assistance to so many common effluent treatment plant systems, where you can tie up with the common effluent treatment plant. The persons or the authority from the common effluent treatment plant come to your step door, and they collect the effluent from the electroplating industry, and they are going to treat it. So that's why it is the appeal to the public that you have to have a tie-up, all the electroplating industry to tie up with this common effluent authority. Okay, the Water Act is there to protect the water, and it is applicable to the whole of the country. The pollution, it is explained. Pollution means in such contamination of water or such alteration of the physical, chemical, biological property of water, or such discharge of any sewage or trade effluent or any other liquid, gaseous or solid substance into water, whether directly or indirectly. So directly means directly to the lake or directly to the river or directly to the stream. Indirectly means if you are discharging to the drainage actually ultimately joins to the lake or to the stream or to the nala or to the river. So this is the indirect. As may be and as likely to create nuisance. It says likely to create nuisance or render such water harmful or injurious to public health or safety or to the domestic, commercial, industrial, agricultural or other legitimate use, or to the life and health of animals or plants or of aquatic organisms. So organisms also include the organism of the soils, not only aquatic with organisms. The pollution is such harmful. When it becomes harmful, then only it is called as pollution. Otherwise, no. The concentration is actually defined. For example, the drinking water BOD is should be 0. So if it is a BOD is there, means there is a pollution. Normally, Pollution Control Board actually monitor the lakes, we found BOD is sometimes 10 milligram per liter is too high actually, because river BOD normally in the rainy season it is 3 milligram per liter. So drinking water BOD should be 0 as per IS 10500. Yeah, this is the common effluent treatment plant where they collect in Karnataka. There are 10 common effluent treatment plants. They collect effluent from all the electroplating industries and of the small scale. Because they're small scale, they feel that they are very difficult to maintain the treatment plant. That's why they have a tie-up with the common effluent treatment plant. The common effluent treatment plant personnel are actually going to treat the effluent to the required standard as per the Pollution Control Board norms, and the treated water is recycled back into the system or the recycle for the gardening. The Air Act in 1981, first is the Water Act, then comes the Air Act 1991. Here also it is explained, it is actually extended to the whole of the India. And the air pollutant, it actually gives the definition. Air pollutant means any solid, liquid or gaseous substance, including noise, present in the atmosphere. It is present in the atmosphere in such concentration as may be or tend to be injurious to the human beings. It says injurious to the human being or other living creatures or plants or property or environment. So it states the injurious to human beings. Okay, don't complain about the temples, because temples they use this agarbattis. Agarbattis smell is not injurious to the human being. So that's why I am telling you it should be injurious. What injurious, it is mentioned in the act. All the details are given. If you go through that, it is. The air pollution is directly actually hit the human's respiratory system, where the lungs are actually affected. This is what actually Pollution Control Board has measured the air pollution in the Bangalore city 5 years back. 60% of the pollution is because of the transportation and because of the bad roads. That is 62%. And from the industries it is only 14%. The Pollution Control Board is actually really controlling the 14% these industries by asking industries to provide the control systems. Yeah, so more industrialization means more liberation of the carbon dioxide. Is already 7 billion tons of carbon dioxide is already accumulated in the atmosphere, and this causes the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is nothing but the global warming. There are so many other problems is related with the global warming. So we'll discuss with the later. This is the smog. The smoke and the fog joins together, it becomes smog. When there is a smog, the visibility is very low, so very difficult to drive your vehicles. And the aeroplane, sometimes it is diverted to some other aerodromes, because it also affect the aeroplane paths. So visibility is very important. So visibility is disturbed, and if it is 24 hours, the smog is there, and the respiratory system is also going to be disturbed, and there is every chances of the people may suffer from asthma and other diseases. Yeah, the next is the sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxides are also released when the fossil fuels are burnt, and these sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide are going to dissolve in the humidity, and when it is dissolved in the humidity, it becomes sulfuric acid and nitric acid. When the pH of the rainwater is less than 5.2, then it is called acid rains. Once there is an acid rain, it is going to destroy the forest, because the leaves of the green leaves are very sensitive to the pH, and also the soil microorganisms are also very sensitive. The pH is less than 5.2, and all the soil microbes are going to be disturbed. And industrialization sometimes causes the problem if there is a gas leakages. Earlier in 1984 there was a methyl isocyanate gas leakage in Bhopal. So then recently is actually Visakhapatnam gas tragedy. It is a sterile gas leakage on 7th May, which actually caused a havoc in the Visakhapatnam city. The ambient noise is also a problem, so it is fixed by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The industrial area now should not exceed daytime 75 decibels and nighttime 70 decibels. And the silent zone is the hospitals, court and offices, and it is a silent zone. Daytime 50 decibel, night 40 decibel. In Bangalore it is very difficult to find the silent zones. Even the Kalasipalya, where the hospital is there, the noise is very high. Okay, Environmental Protection Act, which covers all other acts I told you. In Environmental Protection Act also, the environmental pollutants are actually means what it is says, the solid, liquid, gaseous substances present in such concentration. Okay, such concentration which is injurious to the environment. That actually. If it is not injurious, then you need not worry, because what is injurious, the content is also given in the same act. Hazardous waste management rules, which says about the hazardous nature and how it has to be disposed and all. This rules 2016, if you go through, it gives, because hazardous waste is very problematic and which is non-biodegradable. So next is the biomedical waste, which applies to all the nursing homes, all the blood bank, pathogen bacteria laboratory, blood bank, Ayush hospital, clinical establishment, forensic lab, research lab, blood donation camps. All these are actually covered under the biomedical waste. In Karnataka, we have 25 biomedical waste disposal facilities. So they have actually got this biomedical waste incinerator. Biomedical waste incineration is a special design. There are two chambers. First chamber is 800 degrees centigrade, and the second chamber is actually 1050 degrees centigrade. All the biomedical waste is actually disposed to these common biomedical waste centers, around 100 ton per day. Maybe the biomedical waste generated in Karnataka, that is actually collected by the common effluent common biomedical waste treatment facilities and incinerated their respective areas. In Bangalore, we have got 3 numbers. In Mysore, we have got 2 numbers, and all over the state 25 number biomedical waste disposal facilities. So e-waste is also one of the important recently, because one of the estimation shows us about 86,000 metric ton per annum of e-waste is generated in the Bangalore, and Karnataka State Pollution Control Board given a consent to the recycler dismantler for a total capacity 30,000 metric ton per annum can be recycled. So that much of capacity the Pollution Control Board has given. You can get the address of go to our website. So plastic rules is also applicable to the all over the country, but in Karnataka state government made a rules. Actually in 2016 it banned all the plastic bags, plastic tin sheets, plastic some ornaments, all these things actually banned. So because it is indiscriminately used and thrown to the environment. So this is how actually if you throw the plastic waste, it stays in the environment up to 450 years, that means 5 generations. So it is actually going to pollute all the seashores, lake water, streams, and also the solid waste disposal sites. The solid waste is a big problem. It's around 5,000 tons per day in Bangalore alone actually, because of municipal solid waste generation is collected by the BBMP. There are so many methods to treat. But before treating, we have to segregate all these things. These are all recyclable. Cloth is recyclable, or the slippers, or the glass, or the plastic. They are collected and they can recycle back. Only rule says that only 10%, 10 to 11% is only the dump in the disposal in the landfill area. Otherwise, 90% has to be recycled back. So this is one of the method. All the biodegradable waste collected from the solid waste can be converted into an organic composting, and this organic composting can be used for the plants. This is the initiative taken by the Pollution Control Board. The Pollution Control Board is actually monitoring the 83 stations of the rivers in Karnataka, and it also monitors 120 lakes in Karnataka full, and it is given in the website class A water quality, class B water quality, class D water quality, class E water qualities. So depending upon the pollution load, so here actually 76% of the water is under class C. Class C means it is given a drinking water source with conventional treatment followed by the disinfection. So you cannot drink directly the water. Even the class A water is a drinking water source, but we have to be disinfected. So because I already told you, so 1 milliliter of water contains a huge quantity of microorganisms. So this is the lake monitoring. 120 lakes are actually monitored by the Pollution Control Board. on 60% of the lake water is to the class D. Class D is actually mentioned, is actually you can use only for the propagation of the wildlife and fisheries. So this is all because of the discharge of the either the in the cities it is only because of the sewage discharge, some few lakes maybe industrial pollution. Otherwise, most of them 60% is only by the human sewage. So what is the conclusion? Why the biodiversity is major? Because human beings are a teeny part of the whole biodiversity. Hence, without biodiversity, human beings cannot survive. But without human beings, nature can survive. So because of that, we can celebrate our all occasions by planting sapling, celebrate all our festivals in eco-friendly manner, and promote the use of non-conventional eco-friendly renewable energy, and adopt the 6 R. R means rethink before using, and reduce, recycle, reuse, refurbish, and repair. Next, not the least, it is actually a small steps is taken towards the conservation of the biodiversity will result in sustainability of the life. Yeah, thank you. Now actually we can discuss for panel discussion for 20 minutes. Okay, after 20 minutes we are going to give you a quiz. There are 20 questions. You have to answer in 10 minutes. Okay, after 10 minutes all the lines are going to be closed, and minimum 50% you have to score. At least you can try, everybody can try. So because the Pollution Control Board is going to distribute the awards. There are 15 awards by the State Pollution Control Board, and also we are expecting some awards also from the Central Pollution Control Board. So that is actually going to be distributed, and all the participants are actually, they are getting the online certificates, and the awardees, they are getting the certificate and award.
Thank you, sir, for your informative presentation. Shortly, we will move to panel discussion. Participants, please ask questions in the YouTube live chat. Panelists will discuss your questions. Feedback is must to receive the certificate. Feedback link will be closed at 1 p.m. today. Quiz will be starting exactly at 12:20 p.m. and closes at 12:30 p.m. Please submit before 12:30. After 12:30, it cannot be submitted. Quiz is open for all. We are giving the quiz certificate also. You must have to score 50% of the mark. Awards will be given in 5 categories by Karnataka State Pollution Control Board and Central Pollution Control Board. Thank you. All the best.